Welcome back to the Malted Man Cave. Dave is in his house, down in my basement, down here in the Malted Man Cave. And as you'll notice, I'm wearing a hat.
And we're close.
Why, you might ask, am I wearing a hat? Well, I'll tell you why. Great Clips sucks. You never know what you're going to get. You could get an amazing hairdresser that just does a great job, or you could get the biggest white trash person that has no idea how to cut hair, and that's what happened to me, so hence the hat. And actually, I want to tell you a little bit of a story. It was pretty funny. So I walk in today, and
At Great Clips?
Yeah. Have you ever been to Great Clips?
I've never been to Great Clips.
His wife is actually a very chic. Like, people go and pay like $300 to get their
Oh,
hair.
yeah. $300. No.
Well, it ain't cheap.
For a lot of hair, yes.
Yeah, she does. She's like the high-end hairdresser.
I feel bad saying that because I never put any product in my hair, and she always gets mad at me when I tell people that she's a hairstylist, and they're like, really? Because your hair looks like a child's.
I think you rock it out nice.
All right.
But anywho, so I walked into Great Clips tonight, or this afternoon, and you don't know because you've never been there, but they put you into like the slot, and you can see it on this like little TV. You're like six in slot, and then as they finish someone's hair, you move up to number 5, and you just never know like who you're gonna get. So I walk in, and there's 6 hairdressers, 5 of which look very, they're about middle-aged to younger, like 25s, fairly attractive. They present well, very well dressed. They just looked like they knew what they were doing, professional. And then there was this one,
The she-beast.
very overweight, white trash looking like she had just graduated from like junior high school, like with the most base haircutting license you could possibly get. And I was like, please don't let me get her. Guess who I got?
You got her.
Yes, and she jacked my hair up. So I'll be wearing a review tonight. So without further ado, tonight we're going to be doing Glenfarclas 10. Glenfarclas comes in at 40% ABV. It is unfortunately chill filtered, and there's no color added. It's a really good whiskey. Glenfarclas is a very, very good distillery. And actually, didn't you do some research?
I did a little homework on it.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Glenfarclas means the Valley of the Green Grass, and what was funny about that was one of the first, and when we get into the nose of it, one of the first things I smelled on it was grass, and Keith told me a little bit about it, and we'll get into it. It was the first evidence that there was whiskey or spirits being made on that premises was back in 1791.
Dang.
And it took about almost 40 years for them to finally get to the point where they were ready to get a license and distribute and sell. And then about 30 years later, that's when they sold to the Grant family. It was first started by the Hay. Their last name was Hay, and they sold in 1865 to the current owners, the family, which is the Grants.
Which is another reason why I support them and why I enjoy their product. First of all, because they're a delicious sherried Speyside whiskey, but also because they're one of the few family-owned distilleries, right?
Right. Yeah. And then getting into the 10 specifically, the Glenfarclas 10, I read that it's kind of like their. A lot of people were talking about how it's kind of Glenfarclas's day drinker, or their kind of what's most commonly served when you're getting it, which isn't a bad thing. It's good. It's kind of like the brand ambassador for them.
For sure. Well, without further ado, let's get into some whiskey.
All right.
What do you get on the nose?
Well, right off the bat, kind of had that like. Now I just mowed my lawn when I came over here, and Keith's like, "Hey, I've got this for you to review," and I put it up to my nose, and I was like, Valley of the Green Grass. It smells like grass clippings.
And that I swear to you guys, he got that on his own. I actually told him afterwards, like, dude, like that's kind of what Glenfarclas is known for. It's kind of had that hay, fresh cut grass. And actually, I told him he had George Grant, the son that's gonna inherit eventually when Grant Senior, passes away. hopefully a long time from now. He actually says that in one of his interviews. He's like, it smells like fresh cut green grass. So
yeah.
I don't know. I was impressed that you actually got that. No.
Thank you. And then along with that, raisins was very prevalent for me. A little bit of chocolate. I wanted to say like a fruit like pears or apples, but it was really specific. It's more of like a canned fruit, like a something that's been stored. It smelled like that kind of syrupy fruit to me. And then a little bit spicy on the nose, a little, which it's not the heat it's not the spice from the heat because it's only a 40 proof or a 40 ABV. But yeah, so that's what I got on the nose. How about you?
So when I was doing my tasting notes, I've told you this before, I can always tell when I have been drinking a little bit, when I go back and read my notes, like I can tell like the night that I wrote that, I may have indulged a little bit because I get really poetic. So imagine smelling milk, honey, toffee, mild cinnamon and nutmeg, all while on a hike through a forest of pine trees. Again, kind of that green grass.
Yeah.
No.
I like the milk. I like the milk.
Doesn't it? Like creamy, milky?
Yeah.
You get that?
Yeah, I like that.
I actually put, the first time I ever had gin was at your aunt's house. And
Really?
Do you remember, does she live in Columbus or where does she live?
Yeah. Which aunt?
I don't know. She had gin at her house and we went to her house, I think in Columbus at one point. Anyway.
Oh, Hallie's cousin. Or Hallie's aunt.
Maybe it's, okay.
Hallie's aunt.
Well,
yeah,
I think we were
sorry, Aunt
definitely
Katie.
20, we were definitely 21 or maybe 20.
Yeah.
Not sure
Doesn't
what age,
matter.
maybe. Anyways, but we...
Was that the night of the Jeep and the music?
Yes.
Okay, and the steaks?
And
Ooh, that was a good
she
night.
had, quite an extensive liquor cabinet, which we helped ourselves to. And I remember deciding that night that I did not like gin, because I felt like gin is like gnawing on like a pine tree.
Yes,
and I was
yes.
like, no bueno, no thank you.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when I smell this, like I'm in a pine tree forest, it actually is pleasant.
Yeah.
So, let's see, what else do I get? A little bit of unsweetened blackberry jam. It's not
Ooh.
like sweet. It's not super sweet.
Right,
but like
right.
unsweetened blackberry jam. And then again, just kind of a really delicious malty barley sugar note. And that's what I get. What do you get on the palate?
It's an easy drinker. Honey, right off the bat, and then it reminds me of an apple pie, and it's probably the cinnamon and the fruitiness that I'm tasting. Smoky to me, and I had read a little bit about the peat and the smoke with the distillery. Didn't quite know why because it's not supposed to be a smoky drink, right?
This has absolutely no peat. When they did the kilning, it's completely air dried. They didn't use any peat whatsoever. But something that can be mistaken for peaty or smoky is when there's a decent amount of wood involvement. It's actually oakiness that you're smelling. It's not smokiness. It's oakiness. And maybe like the charring. You know that, I don't know if you knew this, but a lot of times they toast or char the barrels before they put it in.
Yeah, they fire it.
Sometimes they do that to reinvigorate.
That helps with the color too, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially with bourbon.
Yeah.
But sometimes they do it just because it brings out different flavors, but sometimes they use it, like if they're using second, third, or fourth refill cask,
yeah,
it like reinvigorates it.
Yeah, it brings
like
it back.
Burns back to like some of the better parts.
Okay. And then lastly, but not least, cloves. It reminds it has a little bit of a finish to me. No, not a finish, but
I get it.
On the palate, it's a little bit of a clove to me. It just reminds me of it.
For sure. So I get a bitter toffee kind of treacle note. Do you know what treacle is?
Mm.
Treacle is kind of like a molasses, like butterscotchy syrup. It's kind of a big thing in the UK.
Oh, okay.
So bitter toffee. It's not like super sweet, kind of more of like a bitter toffee. biscuits and honey. A slight earthy, mentholic, and again the pine notes.
Yeah.
And a touch of ginger and cinnamon. And cloves.
Cloves!
Alright, what do you got on the finish?
The finish was short to medium for me. Not a bad thing. It's sweet. Didn't have a lot of movement to it. I couldn't quite get a lot out of it, but it definitely has. It's definitely a sweet finish with a little spice on it, a little bit of heat, and it's not. Once again, it's not from the ABV. I think just from the flavor of it.
Yep. I get a. I'm gonna take another sip. It's not super long, but it's short to medium, moderate, drying finish with honey and a little bit of that oakiness. It's not like overwhelming oak, but just it's definitely there.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good whiskey for being an entry level, just basic 10-year-old. I'd take this over a lot of 10-year-old whiskeys for sure. I really like Glenfarclas as you go up in their core range, as it goes up in age. The 15 is fantastic, the 17. I've had the 25 once in Drinks by the Dram with Master of Malt, and I remember it being so good, but it was really early on in my whiskey journey, and I don't really remember a whole lot of it. I know it's like it was good.
Right.
So, there was one more thing that I wanted to say. Oh, pro tip of the night. Not that I'm an expert, but we'll call it a pro tip.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard they talk about when they put it, the whiskey, and they put it in the barrels and they put it into, hopefully, a dunnage warehouse or an industrial warehouse, which a lot of them are going, unfortunately, these days. Do you know what the angel share is?
Is that what evaporates?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Supposedly, I think it's about 2% ABV of alcohol evaporates each year. But what's amazing is when you go into one of the distilleries, and a Scotsman actually told me this. He said that it just smells amazing in the warehouse because all this evaporated, delicious, Scotch juice is just like in the air. So, something cool that he said you could do. Actually, you take your hand, take your glass, and splash it like up and down, so you get a little bit. Then you rub it together on your hands, and then go like this. And he says that kind of does a good job of helping you mimicking what it would smell like
in the warehouse
with the angel share.
You at home, do it yourselves.
It smells pretty good. So, without further ado, Malted Man Cave Marks, what'd you get?
It's delicious. I loved it. I feel like an old pro. Like, not that complicated.
There's no wow factors, but
yeah, it's great. It's a great drink. I will go with a strong 80. I'm 87.
87?
87. An 87.
Damn it.
Close.
I wanted to steer away from us doing the same score, so I was gonna give an 87, but I'm gonna give it an 86. Because they're gonna think we're playing in this.
I was trying to decide between 86 and 87. That's why
I'll go 86.
All right, you go 86. I'll go 87.
I want to give it a higher score because it's for an entry level. It's pretty dang good, and they do a lot of things the right way at Glenfarclas, family owned. They normally pay the money to get good sherry casks. A lot of people are doing finishings. They're getting... Actually, another thing. A lot of people are getting sherry casks that actually weren't really made to mature sherry. So, because sherry is no longer as popular worldwide as it used to be, so they're not producing a whole lot. So, what they're doing, because Scotch people are like, what are we going to do? How are we going to age our whiskey? We need the Scotch. We need the sherry. So normally they would age the sherry for a long, long time, or a decent amount of time.
Right now they're not.
So what these people, they're not really making sherry. They're making sherry just to put it in there for a year and then take it out. Here's the sherry butts that we can sell for 1,500 British pounds.
Right.
So it's not, you don't get that rich flavor. Like some of the bodegas, they're actually still making sherry and they're in there for a good amount of time. You get all that rich flavor. But unfortunately, there's a lot that are not, and they're trying to mimic that process. But Glenfarclas normally pays money to get good cask. So, 86 out of 100. Very, very good. So, question of the night. Do you remember what we decided on?
Last meals.
So, if we were going to die tomorrow, what meal and what drink would we choose to drink?
Okay.
So, what would you do?
You want me to start off? Okay.
Yeah.
Man, for a meal, could I pick the never-ending pasta bowl at the Olive Garden? I'm just kidding.
It's pretty.
Then I
delicious.
never die. No, man, you can't go wrong with some steak, some mashed potatoes and gravy, and Brussels sprouts.
For sure. What would your drink be and what would your dessert be?
My steak would be medium rare.
For sure.
It would be little salt and pepper. That's it. Let's see here. My drink of choice with that, I would
Doesn't have to be
probably.
scotch.
No, it wouldn't be scotch. It wouldn't be scotch. It would be. It would be one of my favorite beers, which is made by a company called Rogue, and it's called Hazelnut Brown Nectar. And I've loved it since I started drinking beer. Probably one of my favorite drinks of all time would be Hazelnut Brown Nectar made by Rogue.
I don't think I've ever had that.
Oh man, it's good.
Delicious?
Yeah, it's good. And then for a dessert, I don't know how it is across the world. In the United States, birthday cakes are popular. I hate cake. Cake is terrible. I mean, it's good if you have to have it, but if it's my birthday, I have birthday pies. I love a pie, a good pie, and nothing's better than a church lady pie. So my parents go to a church and they have a bunch of old women that make pies and sell them as like a charity thing.
What's your favorite flavored pie?
Oh man, apple pie. Apple pie. That's what I would have.
Apple pie.
Apple pie. That's what I would have.
All right. So for the appetizers, I would get. Have you ever been to Fleming's? The Fleming's Steakhouse.
No.
They have the most amazing crab cakes. I don't know what kind of sauce.
Can I change mine? Darn it!
You love crab cakes?
No. I'm thinking. All right, go ahead.
It is the most amazing sauce that goes with these delicious crab cakes. I'd have that for appetizers. I would have, again, a filet mignon Fleming's steak. At least that's the place that I've had the best steak.
Right.
I would get, so surf and turf, and I would get lobster, and I would get the butter dipping sauce.
You've done me so bad.
For dessert, I would have to go, have you ever been to the melting pot?
Yeah.
You know how, I would do chocolate
fondue.
Like a chocolate fountain.
Yeah.
With all like bananas, with marshmallows.
Yeah. And
then my drink, oh man. That's such a wide open thing. I am going to pick a scotch. I'm going to have to say, I'm not
Elijah Craig, small batch.
Small batch. 95 out of 100. $24.
Boom.
I think I would try to get one of the old school Macallans.
Oh.
Back in the day, in like the 70s, 60s, and 80s, when they just were putting out just some amazing good juice. I've had one 18-year-old Macallan from like back in the day, like in the, I think it was like a 79 or 80, and it was, oh my gosh.
Good.
It's so good. So I think I'd try to find one of
Nice.
those. So, without further ado, guys, go out and get the Glenfarclas 10. Support Glenfarclas, family-owned distillery. Typically do things the right way, and it's very good for an entry level.
Delicious.
Sláinte.